Então, a gente sempre adaptou, a gente mandou convite para um pouco mais do que o número de filmes que a gente queria. Aí começou, tem talento que se propôs a vir aqui, que é longe, né, para a Europa. A maioria está chegando hoje de manhã, com 5 horas de fuso. Aproveito para agradecer cada um daqui. E realmente são filmes que são, eu acho que, independentemente dos países que foram selecionados, são filmes que cada um tem um diálogo até com uma sorte de público. Hein? Então, acredito que se fez de uma forma muito natural, muito fácil. A maioria daqui que estão aqui na aula dizer assim, a gente quer, mais uma vez, obrigado para eles, que não é fácil. A gente vai fazer uma semana intensa, que tem debate, tem muita coisa, né, que vocês devem saber, mas é muito importante, porque não adianta se fazer. E a gente só fez isso aqui justamente para selecionar. A gente não colocou filme clássico, não sei o que, aquelas coisas que faz parte de um festival, que eu acho que é muito bom, inclusive, mas nessa caso a gente preferiu focar em cima de filmes novos que acabaram de sair e que a gente vai poder julgar, o pessoal vai poder julgar não só a imprensa como o público da nova safra de filme europeu.
Yeah. Morgan's, I'm going to say the name of the film in Portuguese. We have Morgan Simon, diretor de Entre Nós o Amor, né, que é em português esse filme ficou, ou A Vida Sonhada, né? La Vie Rêvée. A gente tem Frederic Farucci, ou Farucci, diretor de O Último Moicano, belíssimo, na Sardinha, em francês?
Em francês?
En français? Ah, o Moicano. Audrey Diwan, diretora de Emmanuel. Mertin, que já conhece. Alexandra Avranas e a Eleni Roussinou, atriz e diretor de Quiet Life ou A Síndrome da Apatia, um filme incrível que I watched the film in Venice. We met in Venice already. E agora a gente tem o Jorge Gachot, que he's a little bit Brazilian already, you know, has the passport already. But this time he's filming not a Brazilian musician, and it's Misty, a história de the history of Errol Garner, which was a great pianist and great musician. He's always looking for something, some thread, isn't it? We're going to talk about this. So, to begin, Matt quer fazer a primeira pergunta para alguém ou posso? I'll begin with the director, diretora, la diretrice. Because Jean Thomas was telling about, you know, how difficult it is to come to Brazil, and we know we're thankful for this. And but I wish you could talk a little bit about how you're traveling all around the world, talking about not only female desire, Emmanuel, but also female perspective on actual cinema, because since Levantement, the happening, o acontecimento, you've been talking about, you know, women in cinema. So are you anxious to talk about this with the Brazilians?
I'm happy to talk about it with your audience. I think I had a common experience with both films because they both talk about women in a very complicated perspective. I mean, abortion as sexuality are topics we need to be discussed. I mean, many people told me not to do a movie about abortion, and I thought it was the same, of course, with sexuality, because our perspectives are all very different. And because it's tricky, because it's complicated, it creates a very interesting discussion. So pros and cons, the way we perceive those topics need to be discussed. And I like to picture movies as material for a discussion. I mean, I love not to give answers to the audience, but through movies to ask questions. And I think and I expect the audience to be there for that purpose. I expect people that ask questions and to discuss with them. The excitement, people were aroused by this idea. And then I tried to reverse the process and to think, can I create an erotic language by narrowing the frame? So it goes that way. If I show less, can I ask the people to work with me? So I show less in order, I was trying with the DOP to find the right line of tension where I narrow the frame and you do the work. And I like the collaborative experience, to see movies as a collaborative experience. So, and I think it fits quite well with the idea of female pleasure, because it's something that is inside. So you have to involve yourself in the process, not regarding if you're male or women. I mean, we can both try to understand how it works together. And I was interested in the idea that we could all try to define together this female pleasure.
Vocês ainda não assistiram, então acho que vão entender. E tem algo muito interessante. We're going to keep with the other directors, but there's something that I really like in the film, that Noemi is always showing from here to her face. It's interesting because she obliges us.
I like her face, maybe.
Yeah, me too. But to keep with Noemi, to be there, not fragmenting her body and her sexuality, it's really, really interesting. So, quer fazer outra pergunta?
I think we are all curious about how did you come to your actors? How did you choose her? Because Sylvia Kristel made not only a name, but she became a trademark in a sort of way. And so how did you find your actress?
It was a process, because at first, when I was still writing, I was speaking with Léa Seydoux. It came out on press, so it's no secret about it. And I was very happy because I know her for long years, and I really, really love her and her work. And then when I finished the first draft, we realized we're not talking about the same Emmanuel and about the same woman. And I knew that everything relied on my actress's shoulders. So I felt we really needed to look at the same horizon. So how I picked Noémie Merlan was quite an easy process, because then when I met her, she made it so obvious that she was the one in the way how she involved herself. I mean, we were talking about one sequence, and I had no idea on how I would shoot that sequence. And she told me I would put if I was Emmanuel, and if I couldn't feel anything, I would exhaust myself trying to feel something. And we were in a coffee place, and actually she showed me. I was like, okay. So she there showing me in a coffee place, because to her the topic mattered so much that she wasn't caring that much about Emmanuel as a brand, but as a woman trying to connect with her body. So I felt she was at the exact right place to be the girl.
And she's a great Emmanuel.
It's a very personal film, actually. It's really a portrait of my mother, and very close physically to my mother. My mother really wears a cap, like Valeria in the film. When I moved outside our place, finally I look at my mother differently. First, the movie, it's a project that I had many years ago. It was the point of view of the son. And finally, I thought it was really way more interesting to talk about this kind of person who is 50, who has financial problems, who is not clearly the center of attention of the society, who believes that at 50 you are done, it's over. And the film tells the opposite, tells that as you said, happiness can be close to your place, and just you have to something happen in your life, or just someone look at you differently. and happiness can come back at 50, and you can renew yourself again. And I guess this is so personal and so sincere that you can feel connected if you have a certain love from your mother. You will be connected.
Just a little bit. We can feel like mothers are human beings, isn't it? It's so obvious, but when you're a kid, yeah, but when we are a kid, we expect mothers to be perfect and fathers to be here. And then it's also a way of you showing the way the kid, not kid, but the way that her son changes the perspective of the mother. So it's interesting to know that was your mother who inspired. It's a very, really personal. It makes the film better for me now.
Yeah. I have also a question about your movie because I was deeply moved seeing your movie. And let me tell you, you haven't seen the movies yet, but they deal with many subjects, contemporary subjects, unemployment and real estate speculation. And the film of this guy, you will be shocked because it's a story of a family who tries to get, a family of refugees who tried to get asylum in Sweden, and you won't believe what institutions do with people. It's terrible. But a question to you. Audrey said in her movie the character has to come to terms with her body. And in your movie, the mother had to be confident in herself, and so she has no confidence in her possibilities in front of life. And so in a sort of way, she has to come in terms with her mind to become a better woman. And you said at the end, the film is dedicated à ma mère, to my mother. How much the movie is, I don't know, faithful to the story, to the real story, or your imagination of a director, of artist made you, I don't know, to fly to tell the story? Because the mother and Valeria, she's great. She's great in the part. And to say, she was your first choice. You ever thought on her to make this movie?
Thank you for your question. For me, Valeria Bruni-Tedeschi is our Gina Roland in France and Italy, because she's Italian also. And so it was a dream to work with someone like that, as I appreciate particularly to work with actors and actresses. For me, it is the most precious in a film, and working with them is the thing that I prefer on every moment of making a film. So I was lucky to have Valeria playing that part, playing kind of my mother, and the film is in a way certainly for me a way to make my mother immortal. And I think finally Valeria understood that, and she was very she cared a lot about working in repetition rehearsals. She met my mother, and it's Welbeck who said that. I miss. I think it's not the good quote. For one thing that is real, there is one thing also invented, and maybe it's Welbeck, and I'm not sure. And I think it's that, yeah. It comes from real life, and then you go way further. Yeah, it's really base. Try to be honest and pure.
Alexandros, your film, the family just wanted a quiet life. I really like the title of the film in English. But at the same time, their life is a nightmare, bureaucratic nightmare, a Kafkan nightmare, in a way. And you talk a lot about the immigration, which is a big subject all around the world nowadays, and especially in Europe. So, and we discovered that this kind of apatia, in Portuguese the film is called Síndrome da Apatia, it's real. So I wish you could talk a little bit about, you know, your main subject and how did you film this apatia to the audience?
Yeah.
I know it's not easy. I can do it.
The thing is that. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, it's working?
No,
Yeah. Hello? Yes. This syndrome exists a long time. I think it's from 1998 that it started, and I don't know, most of the people don't know anything about it. It's somehow hidden, and this is a little bit of Swedish talent, because they spend a lot of money to hide problems, you know, and they have a very beautiful and model way surface. But it's not about Sweden at the end of the day, because I think a lot of countries pretend to be perfect and they are not. And I think it's at the end of the day what a human life costs, and how you decide to become a B-class citizen, and that's it. And it doesn't matter if you, for me, when I started the film, it was the question, is a rebellion an act, makes a person that makes a revolution egoistic, or someone that helps the society? And in this subject comes also the family, because the first that is somehow wounded from this is the family. And for us, with my DOP and the actors, it was important somehow to recreate the limbo, because these people are living in a limbo, they're waiting for life to restart again, maybe 2 years, 2 years and a half. And the question was, how can create an emotional POV? How these people are feeling, and know how these people, how the state is looking to the people, or how they look to the state, is how they are feeling in this country, waiting to become again A-class citizens, to prove that they are not, that they are good enough to be part of this society. So, and after all this comes the syndrome, comes the parental love, and most important is the hope. And yeah, this was the beginning of the film somehow.
It's a very hard experience to see your movie. To me, it was.
Have you watched Love Me Not? I mean, this is like a comedy.
No, maybe. But you see, like you said that, I was seeing your movie and I had this impression, the same I have when I see some movies of the Swedish Ruben Östlund.
But he's doing comedies, no?
Yes, they are. But at the same time, the way he looks to the malfunction of the society, the way people and the way institutions are put against each other, it is something very, very disturbing. And in your movie, I was, since you are Greek.
Yep.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
The family in the movie is Russian, and the story is set in Sweden. Can you explain this mix? How did you come to this particular setting of your story?
So, first of all, I thank you for the comparison with Östlund, but I wish that I can bring a little bit more humor, you know, in my films, although blah blah. But this was the joke, because it's a Greek director doing a film in Sweden with Russian actors talking in Russian, and the film itself is a refugee also, it doesn't have a country, because normally it should be a Russian film because they speak Russian, but we never shot in Russia, we shot in Sweden. In Sweden we don't have enough language, and the main producer is French, so yeah. I don't know, but for me, I'm looking to the film and to the story like from a humanity, from a human aspect, and not, you know, finger pointing Sweden, because I'm not Swedish, so I cannot do it so very well. Or I will be happy to do it for Greece, but Greece doesn't have this syndrome because in order to have the syndrome, let's say this, you have to leave from hell to go to the paradise and go back to hell. In Greece, they're coming from hell to hell and go back to hell. So it's nothing changed really. So sorry for this. And yeah, and if you want to have a little bit more tough experience, you can watch also my previous films. They are tough. This is comedy.
Listen, I hope it won't be any spoiler, but there is a scene in your movie. I think it was one of the most craziest things I have seen recently in cinema. When the girl in the institution, they are leaving the hell, the characters, the family, the father and the mother. And then comes this girl who represents the institution and teach them to smile. It's unbelievable because their world is collapsing. Everything is the worst thing that's happening. But she tries to teach them to smile. And she said, no, you have to open more the mouth. And you see they open the mouth to pretend they are smile, and the eyes are terrified in that scene. That is something crazy. How did you come to that?
You know, I mean, it's interesting because if you follow the instructions of this woman, it's sure that you're going to be a robot, 100%. And I think this is the meaning of the scene, in a sense, for me as a director, what I'm commenting. But on the other hand, we were trying to find a scene where you start laughing and then at the end you go out crying. And I think this is the scene because both sides are right. The parents living in this limbo, they forget to be parents. And they are always like looking down and they don't know to smile because they're just waiting for their life to start. And they have to remember what it is. And this is somehow the interesting part. I think this was an idea from a co-writer, you know, to write the scene. So we have to give him the credit.
You read the script, I want to do it, how it was.
Whenever Alexandros does a film, I always want to be in it. I mean, even if he doesn't ask me to, I don't ask for, but at Alexandros I ask him, please, I want to be in your film. So I think he wants me to, so it's okay. But what I like about his films is that he knows exactly what he wants. And he rehearses a lot with the actors and actresses. And this theme, Quiet Life, is, I mean, the character that I play in this film is exactly that. Adriana, my character, wanted a quiet life. I mean, she did everything she could to do everything right in order to belong to the Swedish system. She compromised, she's like a robot, she does everything right. And she succeeds in belonging in this tough society. The Swedish system accepts her. But when she sees what the family is going through, the interesting thing is that she does not turn her head in order not to risk what she had accomplished. She's a human and she tries to help them, which I find really hopeful and brave from a character to do. And that's why I wanted this part.
Georges Gachot. Georges, c'est le plus brésilien des metteurs en scène, des réalisateurs européens. He is the most Brazilian of all European directors. And you are very attracted by the music. The universe of music, and you made a lot of documentaries about Brazilian movies, Maria Bethânia, Nana Caymmi, João Gilberto, and now what made you turn to the jazz, to Errol Garner and Misty? Why?
Bom, eu vou falar português, não? Pode ajudar, não? Não, acho que todos meu filme, meu trabalho sobre minha memória com criança. Por exemplo, na minha família, nós tocamos muito jovem piano. Com 5 anos começou a tocar piano, mas o jazz, só música clássica. O jazz foi proibido na minha casa. E, então, até hoje, eu sofri muito sobre isso, mas eu via música do jazz em segredo com meu irmão Pierre, e nós cada vez víamos se meus parentes saíram da casa para ouvir essa música do Errol Garner. Então, foi quase 8 anos. Com 8 anos começou a ouvir essa música. Demorou um pouco, desculpe, para fazer essa história, encontrar, ir no viagem, encontrar a história porque Errol Garner morreu muito tempo atrás. Mas muitas vezes, todos meus filmes não sabia antes de começar que vai acontecer. Mesma coisa com a Maria Bethânia. E todos os meus filmes são são filmes que você pode fazer agora, não pode fazer antes ou depois. E foi meu momento de Errol Garner, que é grande pianista que tocava aqui no Brasil 2 vezes em 72. E o Nelson Freire, o pianista brasileiro que você conhece com certeza, ele gostava também da música do Errol Garner. Então tem uma relação, com certeza, entre a música brasileira, o jazz, Errol Garner, todos esses juntos.
You're gonna feel the CD and you can see it. So while I was watching your film, I was, mirroring myself, because our coast in Brazil is being also, destroyed in a way. So we have reservations, but even that protected areas, from time to time someone invades and breaks the law and so I think you could talk about this contemporary hero like he's resisting in his very own way. So I know it's a very small story to talk about something that it's quite unfortunately universal.
Okay, thank you. Hello. Yes, I didn't think about him as a hero because he's a local hero. He's a man who is only raising goats and in a place that can interest people who want to build touristic resorts. And his way of resisting in the beginning is only to say no to a proposition. He's not behaving like a hero, and the circumstances making a hero. But he never says why he says no. He never explain. He never give a political content of his way of acting. That's what I liked with him, and I already thought the film as a two characters film. There's him, the shepherd, who says no, and his niece, who gives a political content of in his action, who tries to think as he could become a hero, and his fight could be collective rather than individual.
How we film sex and sexuality on nowadays cinema, because we came from the male gaze, as Martin said, to no gaze at all sometimes, in the great majority of the films, because I feel sometimes people are feeling afraid of filming sex, or how to film, and I have an expression, I was talking to a friend the other day, that we need narrative sex, which means the sex which is part of the story.
Yes, of
You're
course.
not a video clip, you know. So I wish you could talk a little
No,
bit.
but I completely agree. But first of all, the movie starts with a woman who is disconnected from her body. So it's a broken desire, and I wanted to picture how can we reconnect with the body. But the sexuality part is the narration. As a screenplay writer, I was always amazed by how we write and talk quite often about sexuality, because if you write about a dinner, you will write about what's going on during the dinner. Sexuality, for some reason, is the only part where sometimes you can read and now they have sex, and that's it, which means that the actors have to involve themselves using their own identity and their own history, because there is nothing to rely on. If we don't depict something, if it's meaningless, then the actors are in trouble. If we all work, but not only actors, even the crew, if we all work and use sexuality as every other sequence defined by the meaning, then sexuality is quite easy to be used as part of the narrative. And honestly, I was not, for me it was not easy. I mean, I picked a topic that doesn't make me particularly easy, and I had to fight against my own limits. But it was funny because at the beginning, when we started working all together, we rehearsed and we had to talk about sex all the time. And then we realized it was making our life easy, because while being on set, nothing was awkward. Like we defined, like for instance, when the girl says what she exactly wants, we realize that consent is exciting. She's saying to a guy, tell the other guy, because at one point there are 3 in the room, tell him to lick my nipple. And when Noémie Merlan says it, as being Emmanuel, something's happening in the air, She's changing the tension, because she knows exactly what she wants, and she can define it and say it aloud with words. So I mean, they were all very happy that we were not avoiding the topic, but embracing the idea of talking about sexuality in order to understand how it works. And even to me, it was easier after all the discussions. I wasn't shy anymore, and it's completely crazy to decide to do Emmanuel knowing you're shy about sexuality. So to me it was a long but interesting process as well.
Which is interesting, isn't it? Because she finally, and I think it's a taboo nowadays in the world. We evolved so much, but we still are afraid of telling what we want.
Yeah, but also, I had this feeling that we could say what's beautiful in sexuality, and that goes along with defining what we want. So it's the global idea of a desire, and how we treat that desire on screen, and how we recreate the conditions where everybody feels, I don't know, good. I mean, at least that's what I try to do. And that's the journey of the movie. But fighting against the idea of taboo, because taboo comes with shame, and shame is something awkward, and I mean, it's also very moral, and I was just trying to depict what she could like, why she has no desire anymore, and what could make her desire exist again, how to arouse this desire.
Interesting in your movie, because in a sort of way it's subversive, if we can say so, because
I don't know what people are going to expect if you say so.
No, let me explain. In the way that usually we have the male gaze over women, and in your movie, the woman, Emmanuel, is attracted by a man. She runs for him, and he is always fugindo. He's always running away. It's very strange. The most desirable woman, and this man runs away, and he keeps off, and she's running to the last scene of the movie to get.
No spoilers.
And so, why this, I don't know, subversive, but inversion in a sort of way. How did you come to this very interesting idea to renew the whole movie?
Maybe it happened to me. No, but I have a secret about that character. But once again, and we talked about it before talking with you, I don't like to give answers. I'd love to have the opportunity to speak with you again after you've seen the movie, because to me, this character is a question mark. What it is exactly, what he is exactly, and how he's here to raise questions in her mind. But that's a secret key for me, so I guess I can only answer after people have seen the movie. Which one is Aquarius? Yeah. And even if I liked Bacurau, Aquarius really stayed in my mind since a very long time.
It's very interesting because Aquarius is about, speculation, a woman resisting. It's quite about it.
I believe it was shot in a place which was about to disappear. I mean, the whole process, and I felt we couldn't sense it, we could feel it through the movie, the place which was about to disappear and the woman resisting. So definitely a Frédéric Farucci's movie.
Bacurau, for the way he deals with the territory and the way he uses the genre to talk about political content.
I really liked a movie called Baby. Actually, I'm working with the DOP, Joanna Luz, for a film, and I was in Brazil since 1 week because I'm trying to find my grandmother, who is Portuguese, and who lived here. So my next film will be part Brazilian with this DOP, and I really like this film because the sensibility is really something I appreciate in films.
And Marcelo and Joanna, they filmed the downtown of São Paulo, a baby. Marcelo Caetano is the director, and the film was in Cannes last year in the Critics Week, and he won an award of Best Emerging Actor, which now is in a very famous soap opera, by the way.
So, because everybody speaks about cinema, I'm gonna speak about TV. And I saw a very super interesting TV series called Os Outros. The first season, because I heard the second is a mess. I heard, I don't know, I mean, I found it super interesting because, it was super strange. Sometimes I was looking at this, oh man, I could shoot the same exactly. And this European feeling in the film, although we always believe that Brazilian feeling or TV shows are much like soap operas or, very B, I found it super interesting. And I'm considering even to do a remake in Greece. So we'll see.
Yes, I totally agree. I saw the second, it's okay. It's perfect. I like it so much. Unfortunately, I have to be sincere, and I don't know many things about Brazilian directors and things. I mean, I didn't make research. But as I am thinking about it, in Greece we don't have many releases. I don't want to play them exactly, but I hope I will see in the future.
Oh, I came to Brazil because of the music, and you have to help me, Merton, because I saw a film. What was the name exactly? Urubu and yeah. This is something that touched me very much when I saw that a few years back, and I know the director also, and yeah, he's a good friend, Marcelo Gomes, exactly. It's a very nice film. Thank you very much.
Ali, ó.